Good.
You've been warned. You have been recorded, spied on. You don't know who I'm going to send this to, so you better be nice. Okay, since this is a challenges in evangelism site, I decided to broaden it slightly into church growth, 3 types of church growth. And I'm going to need your help. Let's say you're moving to a congregation, or you're already established at one, and the congregation is really needing to grow, looking to grow, wanting to grow, which should describe every congregation, because we're not trying to grow churches, we're trying to grow the kingdom. And we're not so much concerned about our local congregation as we are about the souls of people. But when you look at a local congregation, there are at least 3 types of numerical growth that I want us to look at and expand upon. And I'll give you what I call them. I've been calling them these 3 things for 35 years. I wrote an article for a magazine that got rejected because, I'm me. And it included problems that churches are facing. And one of them was, the lack of growth. And here are the 3 types of growth. We're going to focus on the evangelism first, because that is the main focus of this group. And I call it kingdom growth. Then you got people moving into the area or changing congregations. I call that transfer growth. And then the third one I call family growth. And I don't mean people just having children. I mean those children then becoming part of God's kingdom and building strong families spiritually, so that when a child realizes that they need Jesus, then they respond. So those are the 3 types of growth: kingdom growth, transfer growth, and family growth. Do y'all have another type of growth that you could add? You could add spiritual growth of individuals, but I'm talking about where you've got people in a congregation and the congregation is growing numerically with Christians or believers. Because I think those 3 cover most of them, but there might be a 4th I'm missing.
Well, with church growth, from what I've seen in my area, a lot of growth from Christians come from other churches splitting up, or the FC college kids moving to the area, and they go from one church to the next church. So there's a big influx because of divisions or church hopping or new college students moving into the area. But I guess that's part of the Christian growth aspect of that.
Yeah.
Well, and
ahead,
I was just thinking about what's happened here probably would come under one of those categories, but thinking like Joseph, it's a college town, and we have had young people come here, and they join our study group, and then they may even bring a girlfriend who's not a Christian, and we baptize the girlfriend, and then they get married, and then they stay. And so we've got one young man that's a deacon, another young man that's an elder, and another young man that's a deacon in another congregation. We wish they had stayed, but we're glad that they're producing somewhere else. in another church. They were here for a while, and then circumstances made them have to leave because of work. But anyway, that's kind of been, but I guess that would, I don't think, would you call that family growth? Maybe, I don't know, maybe one of those three categories, but anyway.
Well, if it's a college town and a Christian's moving to the area and joins the congregation, that would be transfer growth.
Yeah.
And then if they convert somebody, that would be kingdom growth.
Right, it'd be a combination.
Yes, a combination of transfer growth and kingdom growth. Which of those three do you think congregations rely on the most? Transfer growth, that is Christians going from one congregation to another, kingdom growth, that is reaching the lost, or family growth, that is children of Christians already becoming Christians? Which of those three do you think congregations rely the most on?
Transfer.
Yes. Because when they look at, children of Christians becoming believers, that doesn't add to the numbers that we put on the board, although everybody is, happy. But too many just, their plan for growth is, let's leave the front door unlocked and pray that somebody moves in. And that is a blessing to every congregation that receives, but it's a loss to every congregation that those people depart from. But the most important thing is, in transfer growth, Satan didn't lose anybody, and Jesus didn't gain anybody. But too many congregations, they grow by transfer growth. And if you're in an area like Tampa, I guarantee you there are people changing congregations on a regular basis. And some of them change because of good reasons, and some of them change because of not so good reasons. And I'm sure, Joseph, when you changed, it was for, a good reason. But too many congregations, they think they're healthy and spiritual because they're growing, but they're growing mainly through transfer growth. Now, I was talking to some elders that were very interested in their congregation growing, and I told them those are the three areas that need to be focused on. And if you lack in any of them, then you are not going to succeed. So let's kind of focus on each one. We'll start with the family growth. What ideas and suggestions do you have on helping congregations have strong spiritual families so that the children of the Christians follow in their parents' their steps? What ideas do you have for that?
Well, for me, I went to two different churches. One church lost almost all their families. All the high school students fell away, and the other church I'm at now, the retention rate is like 80%. Well, what I saw with the original church was there was no incorporation of the high school students into spiritual activities or even non-church based recreational activities with the members. And there were the people that step up and mentor them, work with them, get to know them, the church members. Whereas this new church with the 300 people, there's a lot of inclusion and spiritual activities, and even young people getting together with different families and doing things together. There's a lot of mentorship, people taking each other under their wings, working with the young people. So I think it has to be very proactive to keep the young people instead of just sitting and watching things take place.
Okay. So including the family, the physical family, more in the spiritual family. Okay, that's good that they're doing that. And that means that a church has to do a whole lot more than just what happens in a building. George, what ideas do you have on helping family growth? And that is helping families help their children become strong believers.
Well, what Joseph said, I think, is probably the best thing that I can think of. We have had like small group studies in our homes, and I encourage them to host one. We have hosted them, just kind of get to know people and include not only mom and dad, but the kids to come and be a part of our home Bible study. And I find that that opens up an intimacy there that you don't get in an auditorium class, or even in a small classroom at the church building, because then people begin to talk about their real struggles in life and open up where we can apply, the Bible principles to those issues that they're having in their own life.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you think preachers generally do in befriending young people?
Well, that, man, just depends. I mean, I've seen a lot of preachers through the years.
Give me your best and your worst. Give me a 10, give me a 0,
I would say most of them are not. I would say the majority are not proactive. The minority are proactive. I think that is part of the culture from what I've seen.
How about yourself, George?
I think it varies. It's, I want to give you a 5 because I know some that I would give an 8 or a 9, and I know some that I probably give a 1 or a 2. I think of places that I've worked where there was no interest at all in the young people. Sadly, it was, we go to the office, we put our sermon together, we go preach, and we go home. And yet I've also been in places where I have observed preachers that have been very, very proactive with young people, wanting to get them involved. One of the things that I would say too, having worked with college kids, I've been told, well, an old bald-headed guy, they're not going to be interested in me. And there's a lot of truth to that. But if you can find one young lady or young man that's willing to step up and be a student leader, then you've got something. And we've been blessed. I mean, having worked in the college now for 30 years, I can think of times where, man, I just beat my head and try to get them together, and they're not interested. And then other times when, yeah, we'll be at your house every night for a Bible study if you'll have one, But it's always, when you have that zeal, it's always that student leader. The young man or young lady said, hey, let's rally the troops. George is having a Bible study tonight. Let's go. So anyway, kind of a side note there, but that may be true even high school kids. Find someone that's willing to step up and lead.
I think one of the dangers.
Anyway, I rambled.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I think one of the dangers, because everything you do, there's positives and negatives. And one of the dangers of, a preacher, getting very involved in the lives of the young people is he can almost become the youth pastor, activities director, and that is really not what his job is. But if he doesn't pay any attention whatsoever, then this is my opinion. I'll give you an example. When I preach gospel meetings, I usually ask if on Sunday morning I can do my combined class. And I do a class where all the kids are sitting up front, all the adults are behind them, but I get everybody involved. I got assignments for children, I'm talking to them. I got assignments for the adults, I'm talking to them. Everything's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it is a wonderful, exhausting experience when I do these combined classes. I've done them for years, various places, and in my home congregations. But one of the things that I noticed is if I connect with the kids, then they're going to connect more with me during the sermon. And so if I can build that relationship, I'll give you a silly illustration to go along with the serious one. I was at a church for a gospel meeting recently, and there was like a 5-year-old girl who was playing ninja, and she was underneath the pews. And I saw her, and she goes, shh. So I get down on the floor, and I start looking at her, and she's looking at me, and I'm going shh, like that. And we made a connection. There's a 2-year-old girl at our church here that sometimes she'll see me and she'll pat the floor and then get down, and then I'll get down on the floor with her. And I have taught toddler classes, elementary classes, middle school classes, high school classes. All of these various things help me make a connection with the children. And if I can make a connection with the children, somebody very wise said, let the children come to me. Don't stop them. And that very wise person was Jesus. And I heard of somebody tell me one time that there was a preacher that was in a gospel meeting that they were very interested in meeting because they just loved just preaching. And I think they were a teenager, maybe younger than that. And they saw him in the parking lot, and they went out to say hello. And he said, not now, I don't have time. And it's one of the ways that we can help, whether we're preachers or not, one of the ways that we can help parents build their family spiritually is by us making connections with their children. And there's various ways to do it. Now, not everybody is going to get on the floor like I will. Some people will even say, that's not very dignified, Perry, to do that. But then I'll tell them, well, I've never been accused before being very dignified. So, that is just one of the things that, I do, but not everybody else is going to do it. And that's, fine, because they have their own way. But we as other believers can help in the family growth, make connections with their children inside the assembly, in Bible classes. I don't know how many preachers teach toddler classes, but I will tell you this. I have taught every single level, and after I taught it, those kids then would come up to me and they would say something to me. Hi, Mr. Perry. But before I taught the class, they wouldn't, because I'm that scary man in the pulpit that screams every once in a while. So we need to get involved in the lives of other family members, whether it's having Bible studies at our home, teaching classes, doing activities outside with them, just paying attention, saying hello, and so on and so forth. And so that's what I've got on family growth. Do you guys have anything you want to add before we go to the next category?
No, other than what you talk about involvement with children. In the past, I've just done a little Bible drill. We have them up front, and we talk about how many books of the Bible, and different facts about Bible characters, and have a little contest and say, if you can reach this level, you can move your little stick man up a level to level number 1, because this is what you've accomplished, and that sort of thing. And that's been effective.
Oh, absolutely. That's a good idea.
And there's something I've noticed Yeah, piggyback with what, George incorporates the young people. What I'm seeing at a place I'm at right now is they have a thing for the high school students and the young kids to have like a worship night where the saved young people lead the prayers, read the scriptures. The whole service has the young people. So it's about assimilating them, making them feel like they're a part of the service in the church, and giving them roles to get them invested into serving Jesus and into the members and into the work of God. And the more they're emotionally invested into church and work through being included, the more they'll be in the responsibilities. The more long term they will follow Christ and commit to that lifestyle.
One of the other things that I did, and I've talked about this on this format before, is the Stump Perry class. And that was a great thing. Kids came and they would go home and talk to their parents about it. And what was so great about that class was the children got to ask all the questions. And that is another thing you could do and help the children feel invested by allowing them to write the curriculum in a sense, which we did with our questions. We did that for like 2 years and never did finish all the questions. Okay, let's go to the next category, transfer growth. Too many churches just rely on transfer growth. But what I told the elders that were looking to grow the congregation, you have to give somebody, a Christian, a reason to want to